Some relationships don't end with a fight or betrayal. They quietly fade until one day, you realize you're the only one still holding on. Anthony Hopkins once said, "People will leave you without telling you why. Let them go." If someone doesn't truly care about you, their actions will reveal everything: distance, indifference, and a lack of effort. And no matter how much you try to ignore it, deep down, you already know the truth. So how do you recognize the signs? When is it time to stop chasing someone who has already let you go? Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear might just help you walk away from something that's no longer worth holding on to. Sign 1. They don't talk to you much. There are people who were once so close to you, but over time, a distance creeps in without you even noticing. At first, it's just small, subtle shifts, barely detectable, but slowly, you start to feel like little more than a faint shadow in their world. They no longer reach out like they used to. Conversations that once stretched on for hours, brimming with laughter and understanding, have dwindled into brief, awkward exchanges. If you don't text first, weeks, maybe even months could pass without a single word from them. Back then, they noticed every tiny change in your life, remembered every story you shared, and cared deeply about your joys and sorrows. Now, none of it seems to matter to them anymore. When you open up, their responses feel cold, half-hearted, as if they're just replying out of obligation. They don't even recall the important things you once confided in them. When you message them, they don't reply right away like before. Sometimes, they just read it and say nothing at all. You start to wonder, do they truly value this connection, or have they simply stopped caring? Someone who cares about you will always find a moment to show it, no matter how busy they are. But if your messages have become a nuisance to them, then maybe you no longer hold a meaningful place in their life. The distance isn't just in the texts, it's in how they treat you face to face. You try to spark a conversation, but instead of the warmth and excitement you once knew, they respond with indifference, sometimes even ignoring you entirely. If they truly cared, they'd cherish every second with you, not act like you're a stranger passing by. The most heartbreaking part is realizing they no longer care about what's happening in your life. You might be going through a rough patch, but they don't notice, or if they do, they don't bother to ask. They used to be the first to celebrate your highs and lift you up during your lows. Now, even when you pour your heart out, they barely seem to listen. Yet, you're still there for them, always ready to lend an ear or a hand whenever they need it. But a relationship can't survive on one-sided effort alone. All these signs point to a truth you don't want to face: you're no longer important to them. They won't say it outright, but their actions scream it loud and clear. You might try to fool yourself, making excuses for their shift, but eventually, you'll see you're clinging to something that's already gone. The most important thing is not to waste your energy holding onto a bond that's faded away. Give your time and love to those who truly cherish you. Sometimes, accepting change and letting go isn't a loss, it's the path to finding relationships that truly matter. Sign 2, they always talk about themselves. When a relationship starts to feel uneven, you'll notice the other person slowly turning more selfish. They no longer value your presence. Instead, they see you as a mirror to reflect their own thoughts and feelings. Every conversation revolves around them, their struggles, their successes, their emotions and ideas. They almost never ask how you're doing, and if they do, it's just a shallow question, devoid of any real care. You might catch how quickly they steer the talk back to themselves when you try to share something about your life, interrupting you or switching topics without a second thought. They don't dig deeper or try to understand what you're going through. Whether you're wrestling with a problem or bursting with good news, their listening feels half-hearted, like they're just waiting for their turn to speak again. When you bring up an issue, they don't offer advice or empathy. Instead, they launch into a story of their own, spotlight firmly on themselves. You'll also see it in shared decisions. They always put their needs first. If there's a group plan, they pick the time, place, or activity that suits them, brushing off your input. When they need you, They expect you to drop everything, but when you need them, there's always an excuse. They lean on your support yet never offer the same in return. Over time, it sinks in this relationship, you're not cherished, you're just a crutch for them to lean on when it's convenient. You listen to them, understand them, prop them up, but they don't do the same for you. This imbalance leaves you feeling lonely, even when you're right there with them. A real relationship is a two-way street, where both sides listen and care. If you're always the one lending an ear but rarely hear yourself, maybe it's time to rethink things. You deserve friends who genuinely care about your feelings and thoughts, not people who just use you as a dumping ground for their own words. Sign 3. They are not there when you need their support. There are moments in life when you desperately need someone to listen, or just to be there so you don't feel so alone. But then, when you need them most, they're nowhere to be found. When everything gets tough, when you're teetering on the edge, they vanish. No questions, no care, nothing. You send a text, but there's no reply. You call, but no one picks up. You're wrestling with dark emotions, pressure, and life struggles, yet they act indifferent, as if what you're going through doesn't matter at all. They might toss out excuses, say they're busy, swamped with their own worries, but deep down, you know if the roles were reversed, you'd be there for them without hesitation. Worse still, when you muster the courage to open up about your troubles, they don't truly hear you. They might nod, mutter a few hollow words of comfort, but there's no effort to understand how you feel. Sometimes, they even shrink your pain by comparing it to their own. You think that's bad? I've been through so much worse. Words like that don't lift you up, they drag you down, making you feel like you're overreacting, like your emotions aren't worth their attention. Their indifference doesn't just hurt, it reveals a hard truth: this relationship was never truly mutual. A real friend wouldn't wait for you to beg for help, they'd sense your need and step in. They wouldn't disappear when you're at your weakest. When they needed you, you were always there, listening, sharing, consoling, but when it's your turn, they're gone. Little by little, you realize you can't count on them when life gets rough. And when a relationship only thrives in happy times but fades the moment you truly need support, maybe it's time to walk away, to seek out those who genuinely deserve your care and affection. Sign 4. They don't respect you. One of the clearest signs that a relationship has turned unhealthy is a lack of respect. When someone doesn't respect you, they don't just hurt you, they show they no longer value who you are. This disrespect can take many forms. They talk behind your back, disregard your feelings, invade your privacy, or even exploit you for their own gain. You might hear from others what they've said about you, and it's not praise. They complain about you, twist stories, or paint you in a bad light to make you look worse. Their words can leave you misunderstood, but what stings most is that they do it behind your back instead of facing you honestly if something's wrong. They might also cross your boundaries, prying into things you'd rather keep private, reading your messages without permission, or spilling personal secrets you trusted them with. It leaves you feeling unsafe in the relationship, unsure if anything you share will stay between you. Disrespect shows too in how they dismiss your emotions and worth. If something matters to you, they might ignore it, mock it, or deliberately do the opposite, as if your thoughts hold no weight. When you call them out, instead of listening, they brush it off as trivial, or worse, laugh at how you feel. Even more painful, they might just be using you. They turn to you when they need something, advice, help, or a shoulder to lean on, but when you're the one reaching out, they couldn't care less. To someone who doesn't respect you, you're not a person with value, you're just a tool for their convenience. Disrespect isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's the small, repeated slights that chip away at your trust and self-worth over time. If someone truly cares, they'll treasure you, safeguarding your privacy, honoring your feelings, and treating you with the respect you deserve. But if you see they consistently fail to do so, maybe it's time to ask yourself if this relationship is worth holding on to. Life is too short to hold on to people who don't really care about you. Anthony Hopkins said, Go with those who genuinely care for you. Don't waste your time chasing someone who only gives you indifference. Invest your love and energy in those who value you, the ones who truly want you in their life. If a relationship only makes you feel alone, maybe it's time to let go. Thank you for watching till the end, and don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to hear this.